We're back with what might be the literal weirdest, worst, most fucked up game that we're going to discuss. So much to the point that most people who discuss the Kingdom Hearts series just entirely skip this game.
Can we do that?
No, because I spent 5 hours making the notes in the PowerPoint for this. So we're going to fucking talk about it.
All right.
There are a couple of things that, while not necessary to explain in like a lot of detail in this game, are set up in this game that will come back later. So it's not necessary.
In about 20 years.
A little background on this game to explain what'll happen here, because this game was originally released for phones, and I'm not talking like Android and iOS. I'm talking like non-smartphones.
All right.
Then, at some point, it was remade for the Nintendo DS, because the phone version was only ever released in Japan.
Because Japan always gets all the cool stuff.
Yeah, but this wasn't very cool. This was like kind of fucked. I've never played the original version, obviously, but I've seen some footage of it. Didn't look that much fun. So the international version was released on Nintendo DS, but in between the release of the original version, which was pretty close after Kingdom Hearts 2, I'm pretty sure, and the DS version, some other games had been released. So some new added cutscenes were made for the DS version, which didn't exist in the original one. Most of which we're going to cover here, because it sets up and it ties back into those other games, which is the reason we're doing it before the next game we're going to cover. There's one scene, however, that I'm not going to discuss here, and that is the post-credit scene, because the post-credit scene spoils some real big shit for the next game.
All right, so they as usual, they put some extra stuff in to make everything make sense, even though it doesn't make sense.
Even more so in this game. And
cool.
This is also kind of, how do I explain it? Technically speaking, phase 1 of Kingdom Hearts, because they gotta be like Marvel and number this in phases now, is everything from Kingdom Hearts 1 all the way to Kingdom Hearts 3. That's phase 1, which is called the Xehanort saga. We've been introduced to Xehanort, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
He's the big bad in all those games. Everything after Kingdom Hearts 3, up until things that are being released now, is part of phase 2. I would personally like to also divide phase 1 up into a starting phase 1 and then the actual like development of phase 1, where the start of it was Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, Kingdom Hearts Days, and Kingdom Hearts 2, the 4 games that we've covered so far. Because in those games, there wasn't really a long-term plan. Starting with Birth by Sleep, which is the game we're going to cover next time, you can tell they're starting to build towards a more long-term plan towards Kingdom Hearts 3.
Right, because, well, in the first game, they were just making a game. And then that game did quite well, and then they made some more. And then at some point, they were like, all right, this is going to be something, so let's plan ahead.
That's pretty much what ended up happening here. And Godad is a interesting example. And we're going to get into the story in a moment, for like actually. But Godad is quite interesting because the original Godad release on the phone was during that uncertain, just we're making one game at a time, phase of phase 1 for Kingdom Hearts. But Recoded was released well into, now we have an actual plan going forward. So Godad ties in a lot of things better for the entirety of phase 1 and actually starts setting things up that will become relevant down the line in phase 2 already.
All right. So now we're getting into the actual long-term story. Sort of.
Yeah. Sort of. Starting soon.
I guess we'll get to that.
Hopefully we will before we die. We forgot something last time, though. I promised you to tell what the original name for Shion was, because everybody in the organization has those X's mixed in with their original names. We didn't get to that, which is just blasphemy for what this podcast is called.
Yeah.
So we've got 3 letters, right? We've got a N, a O, and an I. There's
So
it's names you can make with that.
Ion, Neo, yeah.
It's not actually a name, because we've covered that Shion wasn't a person, she was a replica. Which is why I didn't answer your question initially when you asked it, because I would need to explain that she's a replica, because her name is Number I, N-O-I, standing for number imaginary, because she doesn't exist. You might say, hey, all nobodies don't exist. Yeah, but she like double doesn't exist.
Yeah. The other nobodies are non-existent versions of things and people that actually existed, and she's a non-existent version of something that didn't exist.
Exactly. So she's called Number Imaginary, makes Shion. It's not lore relevant, but we like covered it, and I didn't get back to it. So now, are you ready for some computer bullshit? We're gonna go into the Matrix today.
But we did that at the start of the other one.
We're gonna do a lot. Well, it's. I want to say it's different, but let's get into it.
Alrighty.
Jiminy has been keeping journals throughout our travels in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. We've covered that.
Alright, yeah, he was here.
And at the end of Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, in order to remember to thank Naminé for everything that she's done to help Sora out, he wrote in the journal for Kingdom Hearts 1, thank Naminé. Why the fuck he has a...
Let's not give any context to that. Let's just say, thanks, person I don't know.
Yep. And I would also like to note that apparently like the journal for Kingdom Hearts 1 and Chain of Memories is the same one, and then he started a new one for 2. I guess the book was full.
Yeah.
But now he's looking through those journals and he's like, thank Naminé. Oh yeah, that's right. Who the fuck is Naminé? Maybe we should look into this.
Yeah.
But now we also see that's not the only entry that he doesn't recognize, because there's also another one saying their hurting will be mended when you return to end it, which Jiminy never wrote down.
They're hurting. Okay. Sounds ominous.
It does sound very, very ominous indeed. And I'll note that you're not supposed to recognize this, because while thank Naminé, Jiminy wrote that down but just forgot about it. This is the first time even the player is ever like seeing this text.
All right.
So what do you do when you're looking through a book and you see something you didn't write down?
Do you go online and ask ChatGPT?
Hold that thought. You go to the king, obviously, because we need King Mickey Mouse. Also, can you see my cursor? Very nice. But the king doesn't know anything about books. Look at the size of this fucking book. He can't even read it.
Jesus.
So the next logical step is to get Chip and Dale involved. Oh, I don't have a picture of Chip and Dale. We've got Chip and Dale involved because they are like the engineers of Disney Castle. They are also the ones who made the Gummy ship that we fly around in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. And they zap it with a laser to digitize it.
Of course.
This allows them to reconstruct all of the worlds from Kingdom Hearts 1 as recorded inside of the journal.
That's one hell of a hard drive.
Yeah. So it looks at what Jiminy wrote down in the journal and can reconstruct the entire worlds that are described in the journal. Let's not think about the fact that Jiminy's never been to Destiny Islands.
Details. Who cares?
This is where the game already is starting to fall apart, and we're not even 10 minutes in. Okay.
So they got a computer that zaps a book with a laser, then throws all the text from the book into, I guess, DALL-E or Stable Diffusion or whatever, and it builds a whole goddamn world.
Yeah, it's quite remarkable, really.
Yeah, that's some good shit.
But of course, that would just be too easy, being able to just like watch Kingdom Hearts 1 again on a big-ass computer screen after zapping the book. So what happens next is the book is filled with bugs. These are bugs.
Sure.
They are literally just... And here you can definitely see that this was originally a mobile phone game, because the visualization for bugs is literally just a cube with a weird texture on it.
I mean, your BlackBerry at that point, yeah.
Frankly, it's impressive that even ran on those kind of phones. So I shouldn't make too much fun of it, but like taking this into the Nintendo DS era and then making a actual HD like movie cutscene compilation out of it, this just looks weird.
Yeah, quite a bit.
So of course, what do you do when we have all of these digital worlds with all of these digital bugs in it?
You go in and kill the bugs.
Well, they can't go in. It's a computer simulation. Of course you can't go in. We didn't just like do that in Kingdom Hearts 2. You can't do that.
Nah, we didn't establish that in the last game.
So instead, they make Sora GPT.
Ah, nice.
They make a digital Sora. They create digital life.
Okay.
Which I suppose already was a thing in Kingdom Hearts 2 now I think about it, because Ansem the Wise's computer had an entire digital living Twilight Town. So this is not that big a deal, actually. But they make a digital version of Sora, which is based on the journal as well. So this is not a up-to-date version of Sora. This is like a start of Kingdom Hearts 1 digital version of Sora. He doesn't know what the fuck is going on.
And that's your excuse for a tutorial level.
I am amazed that you haven't picked up on the fact yet that we're replaying the same game again. This is a Kingdom Hearts 1 again.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm just not surprised at that anymore.
This is the last time we're doing that, don't worry.
Okay.
This game gets quite deep into that, so we'll get to that. But as this is a digital Sora, he doesn't have a Keyblade because he's a program. He doesn't have a heart. And you need a heart for a Keyblade. So Mickey makes him also he meets a road guy during the tutorial. But Mickey gives him a digital Keyblade. It's just a fake one. To fight off.
I was thinking he's going to give him a digital heart, but...
Data can't have a heart. That's exactly what the theme of this game is about, if you hadn't caught on to that already. But for the time being, anyway, we are to assume that since he doesn't have a heart because he's made out of data, he can't have a Keyblade, so he has a fake digital Keyblade. Sora gets to the Destiny Islands, the first world, which again shouldn't be in the journal, but we're just going to skip over that. Oh. And he can hear Mickey's voice over the God intercom. It's just Mickey's voice rains down from the sky to talk to Sora.
I guess that's just the experience of every Disney employee.
It's a little less at gunpoint, though, than a usual Disney employee.
Yeah, maybe.
But he tries to explain to Sora that he's a data Sora, and what the hell is all going on. They need help from somebody inside of the data to clean up the data so that they can look through it and find clues as to what the hell that message they saw was supposed to mean.
So he's just straight up saying, you're not real, you don't matter, fix our shit, let's go.
He's a little less rude about it, but essentially yes. Which, again, we'll get back to that towards the end of the game, because there are some like real like bad implications towards the end about this very thing.
Mm-hmm.
So Sora goes through the entirety of Destiny Islands and ends up in the cave where we see the door that we also saw in Kingdom Hearts 1. And unlike in Kingdom Hearts 1, this time it actually like forms a keyhole that Sora can unlock. Then he goes inside the keyhole, he beats up a boss fight, and that's the basic gameplay loop of this game. You go through a world, you do some exploration, you find the keyhole, you dive into the keyhole, and the fun thing is, inside of those keyholes, the gameplay style differs from world to world. So, one world, I think Olympus Coliseum is like a turn-based RPG. You've got a world which is like a on-rails shooter segment. You've got all kinds of different gameplay styles within these different keyholes, which is honestly why I like the DS version of this game quite a bit. The rest of the game fucking sucks.
That sounds fun up to a certain point.
Yeah, they don't take too long though. So it's like you spend 20 minutes in a gameplay style and then you get back to just like Kingdom Hearts hack and slash mesh X until you win. So when the keyhole gets opened, there is a huge flash of light through the monitor, and I feel like we should probably like write a strongly worded letter towards Square Enix about flash warnings in games, because like, it's actually pretty flashy.
There's not a screen at the beginning of the game. Like if you're sensitive to flashing lights, you're fucked.
Not that I know of. It might be a little bit on edge, but if I were to make this, I would probably include that. They probably don't legally have to because it's not bad enough to that point. Like it's not flashing on and off very rapidly, but it goes from what you see here to like full white in I think 2 or 3 frames, which is quite intense.
Yeah.
Especially since I don't know if you know that story about the Pokemon episode that never made it to international broadcast.
Yeah, I heard some stuff about that. Yeah.
Which had like that was much more intense than this. But that only got aired once in Japan because after that there were like specifically in Japan much more strict laws about what you can and cannot do with that kind of thing in media. I'm thinking maybe specifically television. It doesn't matter. Anyway, we see a big flashing light. What does it mean? Who knows? Afterwards, we see there's a new journal entry that's been added. There is a road for the taking if you end our world's aching.
So combined with the other one, someone has been reading too much of the Bible and is hoping for the end times, I guess.
Potentially. To be honest, most of these journal entries aren't like thoroughly explored in this game. It's mostly just like cryptic shit to get you wondering what the hell is going on.
Well, they're succeeding at that.
Well, at least you're intrigued, so that's a thing.
Yay.
Inside the data, though, the robe dude shows up again and spouts the same nonsense line to Sora and tells him to go find the next keyhole. And Sora's like, who the fuck are you? What the fuck are you talking? What?
Why are there always dudes in robes? Well, we know why, but, you know.
Well, to be fair, this is the first dude in a robe that this version of Sora has seen, because this is Kingdom Hearts 1 Sora.
Yeah, fair enough.
But why does he have the exact same robe that Organization 13 wears, while there shouldn't be any record of Organization 13 in the Kingdom Hearts 1 journal?
Yeah.
Well, there is an optional boss in Kingdom Hearts 1 with an Organization member. So, technically, they could have seen it. But if you're trying to poke plot holes into this game, I'm going to warn you, you'll find a lot.
Yeah, I got so that much.
This is definitely the worst written game in the entire series, and that's saying quite a bit.
Yeah.
Sora goes into the new keyhole and beats up a boss fight, and is now in Traverse Town. And apparently there's one more data journal, because or entry. There are more hurts than the one you have just undone. This one's pretty straightforward. There's more people that need help.
Yeah.
In what context that is meant to be taken down, that is the
Who the fuck knows?
So we get a cutscene from Kingdom Hearts 1's timeline of the destruction of Destiny Islands, but instead of it focusing on what Sora was doing during this time, we actually get to see what Riku was up to during this time. And this is where Riku meets the dude in the brown, not black, robe on Destiny Islands, which we know eventually is revealed to be Ansem, Seeker of Darkness.
Mm-hmm.
AKA Xehanor's Heartless. So this is where Riku met him for the first time.
How the hell did that get into the journal? Who knows? Who cares?
There's a couple of cutscenes from Kingdom Hearts 1 from Riku's perspective that I think this is the only one that I actually wrote down, but there's like 3, 4, or 5, something like that throughout the game. How the hell that ended up in the journal, indeed, I don't know. There's also one that like following Pluto, because if you remember, Pluto was like with Donald and Goofy at the start of Kingdom Hearts 1.
Right. Yeah.
And then when they ran into Sora, we just kind of forgot that Pluto existed and we never saw him again.
And then after that, Pluto was just everywhere where the plot was happening.
Yeah. So this game actually like makes a cutscene to show Pluto going. Well, I think we'll get to that, but it shows a cutscene of Pluto going through a dark corridor, which explains how eventually at the end of Kingdom Hearts 1, they see him with the letter of, like, with Mickey's letter, which causes them to chase him to Castle Oblivion, and then eventually Pluto, like, does his where is the plot kind of thing in Kingdom Hearts 2.
But if Pluto is going through dark corridors, does that mean that Pluto is a Heartless? Or nobody, I mean?
I choose to believe that dogs don't have any darkness in their heart, and as such cannot be corrupted.
He's just such a good boy. Yeah. All right.
All dogs go to heaven, after all.
Yeah, sure.
That's my headcanon, based on literally nothing except the fact that dogs are kind of like just awesome.
It's just all dogs are good boys, and yeah. All right.
I can promise you that if a cat goes through a dark corridor, that bitch is turning into a Heartless.
Nah, cats just don't have hearts. They're just nobodies by default.
That's actually a pretty good of comparison. Anyway, we see this cutscene. Doesn't really add much, except the fact that we now see Riku starting down his dark path.
Also, just in this picture, those are some very inconvenient gloves. Those are just gonna fall off.
Kingdom Hearts fashion is interesting.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised that it's not held on with like zippers and belts.
Yeah, true, yeah.
Also, if you look at his pants, those look like they're being held up by those like little ribbon things.
Yeah.
So it looks like he's wearing pants and then like weird ass waders over his pants.
That's just early 2000s fashion, just having your pants halfway down your legs.
Yeah, but he's like actually wearing another set of pants under those pants.
Who says it's not underwear?
That's a good point.
Anyway, let's not dwell on that for too long.
After some more adventures in Traverse Town that literally don't matter at all, we run into Mr. Roby McRobe guy again, who actually gives us a fragment to the keyhole. You see, in Traverse Town, for some reason, that reason being we need something to do for the plot, the keyhole's been split up into several different pieces. And there's, I believe, 4 pieces. And we rescue Yui, Louie, and Dewey. They will give us one piece. We need a final piece. This guy just happens to have it and gives it to us.
What a goddamn coincidence.
So we do a boss battle. And after that boss battle, we get a new entry into the journal again. In the form of a cutscene this time. And this is where we see Pluto running into the Dark Order. I did note that down.
All right.
Which explains why Pluto wasn't there for the rest of Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2.
I don't know if this is just an unfortunate screenshot, but this looks like another kind of dark hole. And that's all I've got to say about that.
There's hardest now in Disney Castle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's no good, because we're trying to like play a video game here, like Donald, Goofy, and Mickey are trying to play a video game with Sora, and they're being distracted by these fucking literal hell demons.
Just everyday normal stuff. You're trying to play a video game, and then some hell demons show up.
This happens to me every day.
Yeah.
But when Donald, Goofy, and Mickey try to go see if there's any more Heartless in the rest of the castle, and maybe they need to protect Minnie Mouse because she's the queen, and she literally like.
And a female, so she's helpless.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They can't leave this room though. This door is locked shut.
Oh no. If only there was someone with a big old key.
That would be, oh man, that would be so useful. Only if, right? Only if. Luckily, the journal tells them though that undo the hurt to unbar the way. So it seems like the journal is literally holding them captive until they do what it wants them to do.
What a dick.
Sora enters Wonderland.
Oh, that does not look like Wonderland.
It's a very buggy Wonderland.
Yeah.
Nothing interesting happens in Wonderland. So back at the plot, Jiminy thinks, hey, it's only Kingdom Hearts 1's journal that's been fucked. And that's the one that says thank Namine. And we know Namine has some weird memory powers and stuff. So maybe Nominee is the reason that this journal is all buggy.
Wait, how the hell do they know that Nominee has some memory powers?
Well, they know vaguely, because at the end of Kingdom Hearts 2, Nominee like recompleted with Kairi. They fused together, and presumably they read Anthem's reports, which state Nominee's powers.
Yeah, okay.
But they don't know what all happened in Castle Oblivion. That's not why they know. They still have forgotten that. They just know Nominee is some like weird ass memory powered person.
All right.
So after that, we fight a boss, and we again run into Mr. Ropeface because mystery. We gotta have mystery.
Yeah.
He says some weird shit about reality being tied together with memories, and then disappears into a corridor of darkness. Sora, at the advice of Mickey Mouse, actually follows him through that corridor of darkness.
Wait, but the revelation that this reality is bound together by memories, that ain't new to him. He knows he's in a simulation, right? So
yeah, I'm pretty sure he does. So that's not really a revelation. That's more so. I guess that's more so letting the player know that this Roby is aware that this is a simulation, more so than it's giving Sora information.
Okay. So he's the Roby McRopeface is the one making the journal entries and shutting the door and all that.
Potentially. To be frank, I think the reason a lot of things get reiterated like quite often in this game is because this story was originally written to be experienced in very short bursts. I believe the actual structure of the game was that it was released in chapters, one world at a time.
I see. Yeah.
So by the time you get to Wonderland, that's like chapter 3. I don't know how often those were released, but I can imagine those were like a month or 2 months in between. It would have been a while since you like got into this story. So that's probably why the game reiterates a lot, like all the time.
Yeah, that makes a bit more sense then. Yeah.
It makes for very clunky writing when you're like binging it, which in modern times everyone does, because again, nobody actually played the original game. So we go through the Court of Darkness, and back at the castle, somebody is now knocking on the locked door, which, who could it be?
Wait, but if Sora goes through the dark corridor,
yeah,
that kind of fucks him up, right?
Only if you have darkness in your heart to be corrupted. And for that, you need to have a heart.
Right, yeah. All right.
Along with, we're in a data world, so who's to say that this is like an actual corridor of darkness? Maybe it's just a digital. I honestly, I don't know. There's a lot of things that you can say to make that work. This is also the only time we see people traveling through a corridor of darkness in this game, because every other time they use like these data portals, which look distinctly different. So I feel like they, after that chapter was released, probably figured like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't use corridors of darkness for that and just make something new, because from this point onward, it's all data portals, I'm pretty sure.
All right.
Back at the castle, somebody's knocking on the door, and the door's fly open, and it's Sora.
Oh, he's here. Okay, cool. I mean, that, as I was saying, would be useful if you got someone with a big old key. Here's someone with a big old key.
You might notice, though,
he looks quite angry.
He looks quite angry, but he also has a certain look to his outfit, which does not match current day Sora. Current day Sora has got like this black outfit with like the yellow belt and stuff like that from Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah.
This is Data Sora.
And how the fuck did he get out?
Well,
through the dark corridor.
There's speculation to be had there, isn't there?
No.
So, you know who else shows up?
Actual Sora?
Nope. Oh, it's explained here. So, Sora didn't come out of the datascape. It's just that the Disney characters were pulled into the datascape. Remember that bright light? that
Yeah.
needed a sensitivity warning.
Mm-hmm.
That was the computer pulling in Mickey, Donald, and Goofy.
Okay, so we're doing Jumanji then.
Yeah. This is more like Digital Jumanji than it is the Matrix. It's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Aside from Digital Sora here, we also see the Rube face dude showing up here in very, very low resolution. And he finally takes off his hood. And would you like to guess who is under the hood? Because if somebody's wearing a hood, there's a good chance that it's purposefully being hidden what they look like.
So, I mean, it could be someone from Organization 13, but that would make entirely too much sense.
Well, remember, this is taking place. I don't know if I really revealed this very clearly. This is taking place just after Kingdom Hearts 2. So we literally just went on a murder spree through Organization 13.
Okay. Nope, no clue.
It's Riku.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Except it's a younger Riku, and it's not really Riku.
Because, again, that would make entirely too much sense.
Just accept it.
So this is the physical form of a book that looks like someone we know, because making new models is hard.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it comes down to. And also, because we are loosely following the Kingdom Hearts 1 story, we need Riku in here because Riku, spoilers, eventually needs to be corrupted by the darkness. So I'm just telling you now, that's going to happen to this dude. But since he is the physical embodiment of the journal, which we're all inside, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Then Olympus Coliseum happens, which, again, in-game, it's a fun little short turn-based RPG. And then Pete shows up.
Oh.
I always find it hilarious when I'm writing these scripts, by the way. I skip over a lot of the Disney bullshit because it's not relevant to the lore at all. The only two things that I always make time for to cover because are actually relevant are Pete and Maleficent.
Are they still looking for a home?
Kind of. Maybe a little, yeah. They're technically still homeless, I'm pretty sure. I think they're still homeless in Kingdom Hearts 3. Now that I think about it. But they're on a new quest to find something else, which we'll get to towards the end of this game. That was one of those newly added cutscenes that ties in with Phase 2.
All right.
That's going to be their little story going forward. But for now, Pete is here. He sees us and instantly runs away into a data portal. This is where we start using data portals instead of corridors of darkness, even though Pete is a dog. I don't know. You follow him, and you end up in Agrabah, where a lot of Disney stuff also happens. So, after beating Jafar, we're going to skip over the entirety of the world, because again, nothing interesting happens in 90% of the Disney worlds in these games. You can see Maleficent is now also here. And she notices that the Keyblade Sora is using is, okay, that's not what I wanted to show, looks kind of fake. So she figures, you know what? I'm going to blow this shit up. So she blows up Sora's Keyblade.
You know, I should do. That's always my reaction when I see someone with a fake Louis Vuitton bag. Give it to me, I'll blow it up.
You should probably do that with real ones as well.
Oh, yeah.
But that leaves Sora without a weapon, which is kind of an issue.
Yeah.
Until, as you saw before, Mickey shows up.
Yay.
Because, of course, Sora can't defend himself, so he now has his friends there to help. And the Living Journal, aka Riku, is also here. Because he can just fight like Riku could, because he is essentially still just Riku, except he's not.
Okay.
And this is where we get the exposition that you might be wondering about. Okay, how the fuck are Pete and Maleficent in this data world?
Uh-huh.
Turns out that Pete was peeking through the door just as the other characters, so Mickey, Donald, and Goofy, were pulled through into the data world. And he just so kind of happens to be pulled through with them.
So he saw the flashing light through the keyhole and also was pulled into the Matrix/Jumanji computer thingy.
Yep. And just purely by luck, he got the right timing to be there. Purely coincidence.
That someone at the other side of the door looking through a keyhole also being pulled into the story does very much sound like retcon. We need some more characters to explain some other shit in later games type of shenanigans.
Yeah, no, that's definitely they definitely could have come up with something better, like Maleficent made a dark portal when they noticed the king was missing, or something like that. That would have worked so much better than it is, because this is just, we literally see Pete like sneaking up to this door, looking through the door just as the bright light happens. It's not like he's been hanging out there for hours until it happened. It's like, would he have been 2 minutes later? He would have just walked up into an empty room.
That would also be funny, but
that would be funny, but it's like the amount of lucky timing that this plot point involves is just highly not okay.
Yeah, that's just what you get when you make stories that are just this convoluted.
Yeah. So he ends up in, I don't have a screenshot of that. He ends up in Datascape and he calls out for Maleficent, which apparently Maleficent can literally teleport anywhere at any time as long as speed is there.
Useful.
Because she can just literally teleport into the Datascape with him, apparently.
Because reasons and stuff.
Yeah, because she also needed to be able to come in there, which, again, if she was the one that made the portal in the first place, that would have made so much more sense.
Who cares?
I do.
Yeah.
Anyway, since we're doing a Kingdom Hearts 1 retelling, more or less, Riku needs to be captured by Maleficent and, like, brought down to the darkness. So, fake Riku, aka the Living Journal, gets captured by Maleficent into the darkness. What do you know?
Yeah. Looking like some sort of blood sacrifice over here, but...
Oh, yeah, definitely. Little issue, though, since, as we mentioned before, this isn't Riku. This is, like, the living form of the journal.
Mm-hmm.
If he gets corrupted with the darkness, all of the worlds in the Datascape also get corrupted with darkness.
That sounds like a problem.
That is a problem. So we need to go fix that and get Riku back before he goes all edgy and Dark Boy mode. And since Sora doesn't have a Keyblade anymore, I guess it's time for Mickey to be a big hero. So he's going to go to the last remaining world in the Datascape by himself to save Riku and beat the baddies and have a happy ending.
Yay.
Sora, though, is like, the fuck you are, I'm the main character, I'm supposed to be doing this shit, you can't just take that from me, and runs after him without a Keyblade.
Also, Mickey just gave digital Sora a Keyblade. I guess that was from the outside, but, you know, Mickey has done weirder stuff, so couldn't he just give him a new one?
That's exactly the answer you gave. They also mentioned in-game, like, if I were on the outside, I can just program you a new Keyblade, but since I'm in here with you, I can't do that.
All right.
At the same time, we've heard Chip and Dale over, like, the God Intercom system, because they have not been sucked into the Matrix.
Oh god, are they playing the game now?
Potentially.
Oh god.
So why the hell Chip and Dale, who are the ones that made the computer, like, that zapped the journal in the first place, why they couldn't just program a new Keyblade? I don't know. It seems like they're like the brains of the operation here.
No. They made the laser. That's hardware. Program a new key is software. Those two don't fucking mix.
That's true. They're engineers, not programmers.
Yeah.
Which makes me think, who the fuck programmed that Keyblade?
Well, that was Mickey, right?
I
guess Mickey is a software engineer.
I guess so, but he's also a king.
You gotta have hobbies.
True. I think it was Goofy. I think Goofy is the programmer here.
Yeah, that also makes sense. I guess.
Goofy is legitimately like one of the most intelligent characters in this series, and that's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Sora goes after him without a Keyblade because Sora can't stay put. And he runs into Goofy, who's like, didn't the king tell you to stay the fuck where you are? And this is actually one of the few times where we see that this Sora is like actually distinctly different in personality from normal Sora. Because normal Sora would be like, yeah, but fuck that, my friends are in danger. I will fight you on this. I'm gonna do this Keyblade or no Keyblade. Beta Sora, however, is like, yeah, sorry, that's a good point. I probably should be getting back here, right? To which Goofy says, well, you're here now, so like you might as well just keep on going, I suppose.
You shouldn't be here. It's dangerous. But yeah, you're here, so let's get the fuck on.
That's, yeah. Well, it's more of a, if he's going to run away anyway, I actually kind of support it. So I'm going to go after him, pretending like, hey, you shouldn't do this. Then he gets kind of caught off guard when Sora's like, okay, yeah, let's just go back then. And Goofy's like, no, wait, we probably shouldn't go back. We can figure this out. And they actually go a little bit more into that in the next scene because Sora's still feeling a bit down, obviously, because getting his Keyblade destroyed has dragged Donald and Goofy into this very messy situation. And they're like, don't worry about that. We actually kind of like getting dragged into your messy situations because, that's what friends are for. And Donald even literally says it's no fun watching from the other side of the screen, which is kind of a slap in the face to literally everybody playing this game.
Yeah. Like, you think you're having fun, but, being actually in the game, well, that's actual fun.
There is a Kingdom Hearts VR experience.
That sounds terrible.
It's only in PSVR, so I've never played it.
Yeah, the old school PSVR? Because
I think so, yeah.
First gen PSVR fucking sucks.
I think so, yeah. I would very much enjoy just like getting to experience it if it is ever ported or able to be emulated on PC, because it's literally just you being in like one of 3 maps, standing in a stationary position, whacking Heartless with a Keyblade. That's everything there is to it. There's no story, no nothing. That's all there is to it.
It's just cool visuals and slashing.
Yeah, which is frankly what like most combat-based games are in VR. So you could probably just like mold a Keyblade into one of those. I forget what the name is. There's one game I have in VR which is actually like how I broke my controller, because swinging around stuff in a small apartment, not a good idea.
Nah.
Which also has like a huge Star Wars mod, which is pretty cool. Just modding like a Keyblade and some Heartless into that, you pretty much have the same experience, probably with better graphics because it's on the PC.
Just mod a Keyblade into super hot and make the enemies a bit more black and dangly.
Yeah, that works as well. There's I don't know how easy it is to mod super hot, but it can't be that difficult, right?
Yeah.
Well, just do it. Just don't think about it. Just do it.
Just make it. Just do some type, and you're done.
ChatGPT,
right? Yeah. Just throw some AI at it.
Which is kind of what this game is. So, honestly, I think ChatGPT would write a better story than this.
Yeah, true.
Which goes a long way, because not to derail this entire like Kingdom Hearts series, but people are like real scared about ChatGPT taking writing jobs. I don't know. ChatGPT kind of sucks at like actual creative writing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we go to the end of the castle. There's a whole world in between, which a lot of gameplay and stuff like that. I don't care. We battle. Oh, that's Goofy is there and Donald, and we go to the end of the castle where we find Pete. This is the same place where we battled Riku in Kingdom Hearts 1. And Pete is like, hey, Sora, you are here. I'm going to summon these Berg blocks, which apparently I have control over because I'm the villain, to attack Sora. But Donald and Goofy pull another, get down, Mr. President, and jump in the way instead, where Pete literally slowly starts crushing them to death.
Oh, dear.
So, you know what time it is when 2 people are being crushed to death to sacrifice themselves for Sora? It's time for a friendship speech.
Yay.
Because it doesn't matter that this Sora is made out of data. That doesn't mean that he doesn't have a heart and doesn't have real friends. Donald and Goofy remind Sora that his friends are his power, which is kind of like Sora's catchphrase, my friends are my power.
Yeah, and in the last game, we established that even if you are if you don't have a heart, in whatever form that might take, you still have emotions. So, sure.
And all that is enough for Sora to be able to summon back the Keyblade. Because since we now have established that Data Sora apparently can have a heart, he can have a Keyblade.
And the power of friendship.
Power of friendship indeed. So this is the real, like, actually a Keyblade, not just like Chip and Dale coming through like, how does this programming thing work and finally getting it done. No, this is actual a Keyblade. So this one is not going to get destroyed because it's kind of hard to destroy an actual Keyblade.
So this is a real Keyblade. It's a real Keyblade in a fake world that, anyway.
It's a real Keyblade that's being wielded by a fake person. Which is not too dissimilar from Rox's also having a Keyblade, to be honest, and Shio.
Oh, yeah.
So there is some, like, reason to believe that this would be possible. I don't think it's ever explicitly stated that this is a real Keyblade, but that's what I choose to believe. Because otherwise, this entire scene has, like, no value to it.
Yeah, sure.
So, some more running after Pete later, because Pete in this game just runs away whenever we see him, really. We finally get to see Riku, the data journal, again. But now, he's in his Dog Boy outfit.
Dum, dum, dum.
Which is not good, because that means he's fallen to darkness.
Nah, that means the whole world is fucked.
Exactly. But we do get to fight him again, which is always fun to fight a Riku boss fight, because we're always annoyingly hard. But after we beat him up, we go into his heart, because he's got these bugs on him, as you can see.
Mm-hmm.
So we can go into Data Riku's / the journal's heart to fix up those bugs.
Sure.
That's a fun power, being able to go inside somebody's heart.
Mm-hmm.
If it weren't for the fact that, and I'm going to spoil here something a little bit here, the entire plot of Kingdom Hearts 3 for Sora is learning a power that allows him to go into people's hearts to, like, restore lost hearts and wake them up and whatever.
Mm.
That's the entire story of Kingdom Hearts 3 for Sora, and Data Sora just, like, kind of does it here. Without...
Yeah, but it's his friend. It's the power of friendship. And yeah.
I think that Tatsuya Nomura entirely forgot that this scene existed when he was writing Kingdom Hearts 3, is what I think happened.
I mean, as we established at the beginning of this podcast, most Kingdom Hearts fans forget that this one exists. So, you know.
That's the other possibility, which is equally likely, is that they hoped that the people had forgotten that this scene exists.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an argument to be made for being like entering a datascape within a datascape would be easier than entering a real heart and all that kind of jazz. It's just like this game tries to connect things, but it also creates so many plot holes. So we're going to pretend at the end of this podcast that this game is largely non-canon going forward, except for when it serves me, because...
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what the actual writers did as well, so fair enough.
This game is interesting from the perspective of we're, like, in this game now, and it sets up things going forward. Once those things that have been set up have been also experienced, retrospectively, we pretend that this game doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That's the best way to deal with this game. We go inside of Riku, which
that sounds
has
wrong.
the line, which I think I texted you this line that Goofy says, "How do we even know it's safe inside Riku?"
Do we have a digital condom?
which is amazing because this is in the exact same location that in Kingdom Hearts 1 we get the line of Sora saying, "Gallery's inside me?" Something about that location just makes these anime boys very horny.
Yeah.
Inside Riku's datascape heart thing, we revisit all of the worlds that we revisited in this game.
So we revisit.
So this entire game has been a retelling. Well, it's not being a retelling, but the worlds are the same as Kingdom Hearts 1.
Mm-hmm.
And now that we're in what is arguably the climax of the story, we are re-threading the rethreads of Kingdom Hearts 1.
God damn it.
I told you this game gets real bad with it.
At this point, we have Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts 1.1, Kingdom Hearts 1.2, 1.21. Anyway, yeah. There's a lot of Kingdom Hearts 1.
There's a lot of Kingdom Hearts 1s, and again, after we finish this game, we're not going to rethread Kingdom Hearts 1's worlds ever again. For the games that have been released so far, I should say. It's entirely possible that in Kingdom Hearts 5, we do this again. Who fucking knows?
But that's like at that point we're 20 years on, if not 30. So at that point it would be fine. But for now we have had 5 games.
And
in the same
3 of those games are Kingdom Hearts 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a real issue. And again, that's part of the reason also I think most people don't like this game, because it was fine with Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories to a certain extent, but this game's just, we're doing that again. Please make something fucking original. While the story itself it is relatively original, but you can definitely tell that this whole Riku thing exists only to mirror the Riku scenes in Kingdom Hearts 1. And that's the entire reason the journal looks like Riku, because we needed a reason to have a Riku in this game.
Yeah.
It kind of sucks. But luckily, going through all of these rethreads, it's only one battle per world. So you just go into a world, you battle one wave of Heartless or Bugs or whatever, and then you can move on to the next world. Okay.
Still with the different styles of gameplay, or just smack them on the head?
No, it is just smack them on the head. It's just you're fighting those bug blocks, which are actual enemies in the game as well. There's normal Heartless you fight as well in some of the worlds, but here you're just fighting those bugs. And there's a couple of different versions of the bugs. Some have a little bit higher HP, some have more defense. Just the usual RPG variants. It's kind of tedious to do. I won't lie. Riku shows up after every single world you complete in here, and he just gives you a little bit of background on all of the story that has just happened. Because again, by the time in the original game that you get into this point, the game's probably been episodically released for a year, slowly at this point. So most people probably would have forgotten what happened at the start of the story. I'm not going to go into too much of that because it doesn't really matter.
So this whole sequence is previously on Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, that's actually exactly all it is. It's just smack him over the head, and we get some, remember when this happened? Let me explain it to you in just the tiniest bit more detail. That doesn't really matter.
Sounds fun.
It's not.
Yeah.
But when all the bugs are gone, the journal is going to go back to the way Jimny wrote things down. Meaning that the datascape is going to get reset. And Sora and Riku will start from square zero again, being completely wiped clean. Sora, for some reason, doesn't really mind this, saying that maybe he will lose all of his memories, but they will be there inside of his heart. And he will be inside of their hearts. His friends are his power, after all.
Sora doesn't. Sora and all his derivatives don't. They all don't really seem to mind being forgotten or forgetting, the whole chunks of time, just to be yeah, sure, I won't remember, but you're in my heart and it's all fine. And what the actual fuck?
Yeah. But this comes back to what we said at the beginning of the game, where Mickey is kind of just like actually using Data Sora as a exposable tool because he's literally gonna die. I mean, if you lose all of your memories and everything like that you've experienced, you effectively just die.
Yeah, you just start over. Yeah.
Which is really fucked up.
Yeah.
That's just. I should mention, because this is something that you might or might not be wondering. It's something that I was wondering while watching these cutscenes, but with later game knowledge, I can like explain this away. So I'm gonna do that.
Mm-hmm.
You might think, hey, there's a big ass fucking portal there for Mickey and Donald and Goofy to go home through, because now that everything's been fixed, they can finally go back home. Why doesn't Data Sora just like go into the real world as well?
Maybe because he ain't a real boy.
That's pretty much what it comes down to. Is if we accept that Data Sora is made out of data, / we've established that he kind of has a real heart of his own. A heart without a body can exist within like a data world, but can't go outside of that data world because then they would need a body.
All right, but I mean, Sora has already quite a collection of beings living inside of him. He can manage one more, right?
That's a fair point. Were it not for the fact that the datascape is already like breaking down and resetting, and they probably don't have time to get Sora to Disney Castle.
Yeah.
Also, you're trying to apply a logic to this game, which with Kingdom Hearts in general probably shouldn't do. With this game in specific, that's a real bad idea. At the moment that the datascape starts getting deleted, though, not just reset, actually deleted, Mickey's like, wait a fucking minute, Peter and Maleficent are still in here. We can't let them be deleted. I know they're bad guys, but we can't just like let them be erased from existence, right? That would be a dick move to do.
Oh, yeah, sure, because, digital Sora is being deleted is fine, but actual people being deleted, no.
It's funny that you say that, because he literally, as a part of his reasoning as to why he can't let them be deleted, is they're not made of data. Meaning that he's totally fine with deleting Sora and Riku, but not real people.
Yeah, kind of a dick move.
After we've established that Sora can summon a real Keyblade, meaning he has a real heart, meaning he's a real fucking person. So, this is kind of like the debate on if we like create general artificial intelligence, you can't ever unplug that computer.
Yeah, well, that would just be murder then.
At that point, that literally is just murder. Mickey is doing this on not just a general artificial intelligence murder level. Mickey is doing this on a genocide level. Mickey is kind of a dick.
No, I mean, that ain't news, but...
Very much true. Anyway, so while the datascape is folding in on itself, Goofy is very confused about all this.
The first thing I was thinking is that he made signs of, putting a gun to his head, but... feeling guilty. Feeling guilty. Yeah. Just feeling guilty about, committing digital genocide. But
well, that's Mickey. He just allowed for it. Mickey's the one who did it. Mickey's the one who pressed delete, and then when that little pop-up comes up, like, this file is too big to be moved to the trash can. Do you want to permanently delete it? And Mickey just with a big smile on his face, pressing yes. And Goofy's just there like, maybe I should do something. No, maybe I shouldn't. As it's all happening, though, we are fighting a huge as fucking dark side Heartless inside of the datascape, which is actively like falling apart and being deleted.
That's one big old bug.
This is the biggest bug, as a matter of fact, because this is just not any bug. What this is remember in Kingdom Hearts 1 when Sora stabbed himself?
Yeah.
And he became a Heartless?
Is this Sora's Heartless bug variant?
That's what this is. Yeah, this is Sora's Heartless, but it's become exponentially more powerful. And the reasoning for that is usually when a Keyblade destroys a Heartless, the heart captive in that Heartless is set free and joins with Kingdom Hearts.
Mm-hmm.
None of the Heartless in this datascape are real Heartless, though, so that obviously doesn't happen. But what happens instead is that the power from that Heartless gets absorbed by, like, this Sora Heartless. So every single enemy that you've slain throughout the entire game, added together, is this dude.
Damn.
I don't think it works that way mechanically, though, which is a real waste. It would have been real fun if there was just like a hidden counter with the amount of enemies that you've slain as a multiplier to this guy's power.
That would be fun. Also, you know, the whole fact that it's a digital world, so they don't the hearts don't get captured and joined to Kingdom Hearts and all that. Also, the Keyblade was fake, so you know that doesn't work.
They might explain it in more detail. Honestly, at this point in the story, I was kind of like glazing over.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because it's very like this is very like anime hearts, darkness, data, Kingdom Hearts, light, Keyblades, hearts talk. Like I think most sentences are like 20% lore terms and not actually like actual words.
Also, going very literal on the Heartless part.
Yeah, that's but this is a specific kind of Heartless. I don't think I've shown it before, but this pretty much shows up in every Kingdom Hearts game almost. It's a specific kind of Heartless. It's the very first like boss fight that Sora faces. And at first, in Kingdom Hearts 1, it's implied to be like his Heartless and his shadow because it's created from his shadow. In later games, there's just like a bunch of these things walking around. So apparently that's not the case.
Yeah, that's trying to be logical, so let's not do that.
But yeah, the fact that he literally has a heart-shaped hole helps settle in the fact that this is like one of the first Heartless you see. So this one is
very subtle.
Actually Heartless. It's a very subtle visual storytelling.
Besides the fact that Heartless
actually are made out of hearts, yeah.
Yeah.
Which we're never going to get over that, are we?
Nope.
I figured. So we beat this dude up, but he's too powerful, so King Mickey comes in to the datascape again to save our ass. Because
he just now figured a way to just do that.
He can apparently just do that now. Okay, sure. Well, I think he gets help from the digital Riku inside of the datascape, which he didn't have contact with before or something like that.
Sure.
It's more of we need a reason for Mickey to be able to go into the datascape while we've established before that he can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But now we need him to go back in, even though we literally just sent him back home. So what we should have done is have this entire sequence before sending Mickey back home.
Yep.
Reorder things like 5 minutes and all your problems are fixed.
Nah, that's way too logical.
Anyway, on their way out, Maleficent actually has a realization moment because this datascape, it seemed rather familiar to her. And she tells us about the Book of Prophecies, which is kind of what it sounds like. It's a book that tells about what's going to happen in the future. But apparently, this book can also conjure up worlds from its pages. So, much like the data worlds they've been visiting in Jiminy's journal throughout this entire game. So, she thinks that there might be a connection there. Certainly something that's worth looking into. As soon as they get their hands on this datascape to do a little bit more research, that is. And instead of going back to capture the datascape, they leave because they'll be back in the next game to do that. That Book of Prophecies is something that you're going to have to keep in mind long term.
All right. Also, weird kind of depth of field effect in this shot. Like all of Pete's clothing is blurry and stuff, but his face is fine.
That's not so much depth of field as it is just low resolution textures.
All right.
I'm afraid I don't have a better explanation there for you, because that's that's certainly not a depth of field effect, because I don't think, for the most part, these games up until Kingdom Hearts 3 really like use that kind of cinematic rendering technique. I'm trying to think if there's anything like, maybe sometimes there's something slightly blurry in the foreground, but largely everything is just always in focus, because it's all PlayStation and DS games and stuff like that. And rendering depth of field is a little too intensive for that kind of hardware.
Yeah, it's kind of a pain in the ass.
It certainly is. But it does look good. And Kingdom Hearts 3 does do it a fair bit more. Not overly dramatic, though. But definitely like more out of focus backgrounds to make it just feel more cinematic, which I can always appreciate. Anyway, meanwhile, Sora is getting resets. Literally just... Thanks for killing me! And that seems like a fun pun to end it off, right?
Yeah, sure.
Sora just died?
I'm guessing it's not the end?
It's definitely not. It feels like it should be.
Mm-hmm.
But
so it's not.
It's an entirely extra chapter to this. Remember how this all started in the first place? They were looking for a message, the meaning to a message in the journal. But then they got derailed with all this buggy shit and stuff. Everything we've just done was just like a side quest they didn't intend to do. We still need the answer to the actual question that this game started with.
Right, who the hell is Naminé and why do we need to thank her?
Exactly. Sora is just like, this is Reset Sora we're looking at. He doesn't remember anything about the entire game that just happened. This is fresh off Destiny Island's just normal Kingdom Hearts 1 Sora.
Mm-hmm.
Going into Traverse Town, where he runs into Mickey Mouse. Because Mickey, again, apparently, somehow, is back in the datascape.
Yeah, I was wondering, is this like actual Mickey or is this datascape Mickey, like the memory Mickey, or? Nope,
this is actual Mickey inside the datascape, just going in like, Sora, before you go into your entire journey, which you literally just did, you don't remember that, but before you do that, let's just skip to the end. Mickey helps him literally skip the entirety of Kingdom Hearts 1 and go into Castle Oblivion.
Does he still get the memories from Kingdom Hearts 1, or?
No.
That's just absolutely oblivious Sora just going into Castle Oblivion.
This is Sora who literally just got the Keyblade on Destiny Islands for the one giant Heartless and is now in Castle Oblivion, which is very funny because the entirety of Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, you are revisiting worlds from Kingdom Hearts 1, but this Sora hasn't been to those worlds. So the entirety of Castle Oblivion, the entire idea of it, immediately falls apart.
Mm-hmm.
So Sora is very confused where he is and why this fucking rat is talking to him, but he just goes along with it, ending up in Castle Oblivion, where we go through every single one of the Kingdom Hearts 1 worlds we've been through in this game, which is, I think, like 5 of them, again.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
This time they're confined to just one room, and instead of going through a little bit of combat in every single one of those rooms, we go through a very simple puzzle.
So we're speedrunning his memories.
Yeah, except it's not his memories because he doesn't know who the fuck any of these people are because he's never been to those worlds.
Right.
While going through the first world, a hooded Riku, we have a memory card.
Mm-hmm.
A new hooded figure, by the way, also shows up here in Castle Oblivion.
Right, because we can't have a Sora without encountering some sort of hooded figure.
We need our hooded figures. That's that's part of Kingdom Hearts at this point. I don't think there will ever be a Kingdom Hearts game released again in which there's not at least one hooded figure who we don't know the identity of.
Until it's plot convenient.
Well, but by that time, there's probably a new character introduced with a hood up, is what I'm saying. I might be mistaken about that, but the way recent Kingdom Hearts games have been going, that seems like that's the way they're trying to keep people engaged, is at all times having one character who is a mystery.
Yeah, that kind of works.
Yeah, but it's also very infuriating.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that. We'll get to the motherfucker that still hasn't taken off his hood at current day after like 4 games he's been in, and the theories around him when we finish this entire project.
All right.
At some point. That's not this guy, though. This guy is just a random hooded dude, which we'll see in a moment who it is. It's not Riku, though, because we do run into the journal living embodiment shaped like Riku, who helps Sora realize something. And that is that Sora's actually pretty good at helping out people who are in trouble. He saved Riku and Kairi in Kingdom Hearts 1, but there might be a few more people that need his help. Meanwhile, this rogue dude shows up in between every world that you visit and talks to Sora about the hurt that he is feeling every time he enters a world. Then, when he exits that world, he forgets the people he met there, only leaving the hurt and feeling of loneliness in his heart.
That sounds like a fucked up existence.
It does. So he tells Sora to just discard that hurting feeling. But as Sora visits more of these worlds, he comes to realize that the hurting actually isn't a bad thing, because it means he's got something important to be sad about. And rather than forgetting and discarding that hurt, if he did that, he would also be discarding those feelings and the people that are important to him, even though he doesn't remember who they are.
Right. But they're still in his heart.
Exactly. He knows. It's kind of like when you know you've forgotten something important, but you don't know what. That doesn't mean it's not important.
Yeah.
But on a more emotional level. This is where we fight the dude in the hood. I think you can pretty much tell who this is right now.
Not quite sure, but...
It's Roxas.
Oh, right, yeah.
A Data Roxas, to be sure. Which is the final boss fight of the game, is you fight Data Roxas in Castle Oblivion. Because Roxas is like, dude, I'm trying to, like, show you about all of this, like, hurting feeling that all of these people have, and you're like, no, actually, I think it's a good thing, so fuck you, I'm gonna beat you the fuck up. Of course, he loses because Sora is better, which I highly disagree with.
Yeah.
After which he reveals to Sora that actually this whole fight wasn't he wasn't really angry with Sora. It was a test. Because
oh yeah, sure. Because after you lose, it was no, this doesn't count.
Doesn't count. It's just a test. I was going easy on you. Because he needed to be sure that Sora was ready to take on the hurting inside of Roxas. Even though he has no idea who the fuck this guy is.
Yeah. Because Roxas and Sora never met.
No.
No.
The real Sora has Roxas inside of him right now, but this Sora doesn't even have that, because this Sora is literally like 5 minutes off of Destiny Islands.
Also, how the fuck did Roxas get into this journal thingy? He didn't exist at this point.
That's a very good point. Let's say he's another projection by the journal to test Sora and leave it at that.
Sure.
Because you were entirely right. The fact that Sora got derailed from his adventure means that Roxas in this like simulation should never have been created. And that's what I mean with this game is full of plot holes and inconsistencies. This game, nobody probably even thought about that, and they're like, just, oh yeah, let's add in Roxas because everybody loves him, without thinking about, okay, but where the fuck did he come from? Sora says that he can feel Roxas. He doesn't know that it's Roxas, but he says to Roxas that he can feel the hurting. And even though it's not the same as his own feelings of hurt, it feels familiar to him. And that makes him feel like they are connected. And if hurting can let people feel connected like this, it can't be just all bad, right? This is where Roxas smiles and says that Sora has passed the test, showing he's got a good enough understanding of the hurting inside of him to the point where he's ready to take on the challenge of helping others who are hurting. There's a lot of hurting within a very short time.
Yeah, it's hurting my head at this point.
Long story short, Roxas feels sad, Sora feels sad. Sora's like, we feel both sad, and those are kind of similar sadness, so maybe our sadness connects us, and that means that being sad has a upside, to which Roxas is like, you are like a glass half full kind of guy. That's what a lot of people need right now. Go out and help some people who really need your help.
So at this point, Sora's got the power of love, the power of friendship, and the power of sad.
Pretty much. More so, he can recognize that sadness is just another aspect of the power of friendship.
Yeah.
Not so much a separate thing.
Being sad is just the negative opposite of friendship in that sense.
Yeah, and much like light and darkness, one can't exist without the other. So, finally, we get to Nominee. The thing that we've been looking for this entire time. Data Nominee, of course, because we're still in the datascape.
Mm-hmm.
A real Nominee doesn't exist in present time because she's inside of Kairi. She explains that she is the one who planted the bugs in the journal because she needed to get their attention, which, man, this is a roundabout way of getting attention.
Yeah.
But while she was reconstructing Sora's memories inside the year between Kingdom Hearts Chain Memories and Kingdom Hearts 2, she found something that at first she didn't believe. She didn't really know what was going on because Sora's memories weren't the only memories inside of Sora's heart. There were memories of other people in there as well, which shouldn't be possible.
Mm-hmm.
As Sora and Mickey look at those memories together, because Nominee has like a backup of those memories just in her hands for Sora and Mickey to look through, they see people with a connection to Sora who are in desperate need of getting help. First, we see Axel and Roxas.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we also see Shion, even though nobody's supposed to be able to remember that she existed. We see her. Then we see three...
I was just wanting to say they're not having ice cream, so they're sad.
Yeah, no ice cream means you're very sad.
Yeah.
But those three, we know that they're like in a bit of trouble, and like two of them live inside Sora's heart, and one of them is fucking dead.
Yeah.
But then we go over to three maybe somewhat familiar faces that we have not yet really met. But Mickey seems to know who they are, because when we see them, Mickey says, "It can't be."
Yeah, I guess it can't be. I mean, I have no clue who these people are.
I kind of figured. These are the people from the Kingdom Hearts 2 secret ending. Remember that huge Keyblade war with everybody in the graveyard? We saw a Roxas-looking motherfucker, which is the dude in the middle.
Because in the last game, there was like, funny, it's you, and
Yeah. Same dude. And then the other two people we saw very briefly when they took off their helmets in those cutscenes in Kingdom Hearts 2 in the secret ending, thingy. Rather. Yeah. So you've only seen them for like a couple of seconds without any context as to who the fuck they are or what the fuck they're up to. But that's those people. And apparently these three also in a bit of trouble and could use Sora's help.
Sure, just throw them on the pile.
Exactly. And this sets up, these are the prequel characters. I'll just tell you now. These are the characters that we're going to be following in the next game.
No, I figured that much. Which
obviously tells us, the players, how they got into the situation to where they need help from Sora.
Mm-hmm.
Sora finally gets to thank Nominee, even though this is Data Sora, thinking Data Nominee. So doesn't really count in my opinion.
It's the thought that counts.
Exactly. And we haven't really gotten like a scene so far of Sora directly thanking Nominee. So this is more of a wink to the players like, you see, this happened. Now we can forget about that and move the fuck on. And we see that Mickey is writing a letter to Sora, explaining everything that happened in the datascape. And that is the letter that at the end of Kingdom Hearts 2, we see that Kairi runs up to Sora with a letter with the King Mickey seal on it. That's this letter.
Right, because the most reliable form of long-distance communication in this world is putting litter into the ocean.
Yeah, So now Sora knows that there's people who need his help, and probably some more people in his heart, because there's not enough people in his heart.
Mm-hmm.
And moving forward, there's some things that are going to need to do about that. Then there's 2 secret endings for this game, which I already mentioned. We're going to skip over that because it has some, not necessarily spoilers for the next game, but that's definitely a cutscene that was added to the DS version, the remake, which was released after the next game that we're going to cover. So at the end of the next game, I will come back to those secret endings.
Right, because like timeline-wise, in the release orders, most players have already played those games, so putting spoilers at this point is fine.
Well,
sort of.
What would happen usually is if you play this game in its original release as it was intended, you wouldn't see that cutscene, which talks about some things that happen in the prequel game. But most people playing this game on the DS would have already played that prequel game.
Yeah.
But we haven't discussed that yet, so that's why I'm holding off on those cutscenes until the end of that game.
All right.
Which brings us to our very final thing, and that is our traditional count of how many characters of one specific character can exist at the same time. Because we've got a couple of characters here to add, of course, that being Data Sora. So we've got Sora Prime, we've got Roxas, we've got Xion, and we've got Data Sora. I really should start writing these down because I'm doing these off the top of my head at the moment. I'm very scared that I'm forgetting one. But I think that's it for Soras, right? Sora Prime, Roxas, Xion, and now Data Sora.
Yeah, and then we've got a whole bunch of data versions of all the other characters now. Well, not existing anymore, but having existed at some point.
Well, we could argue that Data Roxas is also another Sora, but he's hardly a character.
And we had Data Xion and sort of Data Riku, but not really.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. Do we count that as a Riku or not? The Data Namine, we could count as a Kairi as well. For the time being, I'm going to just count them because effectively they are separate entities of the same person. So that's 4 Soras. That's a... First time we have a second Riku, I believe. Oh no, we also have a replica Riku. So that's a 3rd Riku and a 4th Kairi, because we have Kairi, Namine, Xion, and Data Namine. And then we have a number of Xehanorts, which didn't get changed in this game because we literally didn't see any Xehanorts. Yeah. That's it for this game.
Yeah, the rest of the characters weren't digital versions. They were just sucked into the digital world. So that's not really a separate version.
No, you could argue that I think on like Destiny Islands, all of the Final Fantasy characters that exist there also had a data version. So we could say that all of those Destiny Island kids have like a second version of them, and every character inside Twilight Town now has, or a Traverse Town, I mean.
All the Disney characters that we've encountered.
There's now duplicates of that, and in that same way, there's a duplicate of literally every character in Twilight Town from Kingdom Hearts 2. I'm not counting those. I'm limiting myself to main characters.
Yeah.
And just as I personally don't think we should count Data Roxas as an extra Sora because he's not really a character as well. Only characters that like actually get any like character to them, I would recognize. So that's why I'm like, is Data Namine, like, is that enough of a person to count as an extra Kairi? I think so, because like her decisions and her actions caused the entire plot of this game.
I mean, the fact that she's a female character and actually makes decisions that
pretty much means that she's a person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas Data Roxas just shows up to be cryptic and be a fan service boss fights and then leaves. So if you've got any remaining questions on this game, we can go over those. But other than that,
do we ever get back into some sort of digital versions? Because that does seem useful to just, have a diary, then throw it at a computer, put a big old laser on it, and just checking if stuff you remember is right?
That's a good question. I don't think that this technology necessarily would even show a objective retelling of what happened, because it made the worlds from what Jiminy wrote and the memories. Like the journal doesn't just hold text, but by writing down what happened, it also like almost got imbued with the memories of that time, which are inherently subjective.
Yeah. I was thinking like,
But if you misremember something, that could maybe, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, but is misremembering something also wrongly depicted in this kind of rendering of that memory, or?
I would argue that as long as this technology, and this technology never comes back, so we don't know and we shouldn't care.
All right.
I would argue that as long as this technology isn't bugged like it was in this game, it should replay the memories as the person that wrote them down remembered them at the time of writing them down.
All right.
So if you write something down that's like a capturing of that moment, if then 10 years down the line you remember it wrongly, I think this technology would allow you to see the way you remembered it back then, which still isn't necessarily objectively what happened.
But probably more accurate than you remembering like 10 years later.
Probably. But as I said before, this game sets up and foreshadows some things that we're going to get into over the next number of games. Retrospectively, nothing else introduced in this game is really going to... Like, none of the plot points from this game actually matter. It's only like the little side things, like Maleficent mentioning the Book of Prophecies, which is a plot thread that's to like modern day still relevant. This was the first time that it's mentioned, both chronologically and not chronologically, in release order.
Right.
And then it didn't get mentioned again for like another 5 years or something like that. And the whole reason for like moving forward, Sora knowing what's up and what's going on, and the fact that Sora needs to go help and rescue people like Roxas and Shion and apparently Axel, and those other 3 characters. The reason he even knows to go train to rescue them, which is what the next Sora-centric game is about, is him training to learn the power to rescue them, is because this game happened.
Right, because actual Sora is at no point during this game actual Sora is involved. It's just through the letter that Mickey throws into the ocean that he learns about the fact that Mickey made a digital version of him and threw it in the trash, but he did learn some important stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. Which I should also point out, if I got a letter by like bottle mail telling me that somebody made a digital version of me that went on an entire like fucking adventure, I would feel kind of violated.
Yeah,
like that's not okay.
That's I mean, like Google and knowing like basically everything about me. That's up. You know, I don't know. That's fine, but someone actually making a well, not a replica because that's something else, but a digital version of me, and then having that digital version of me doing some stuff from my memories. Yeah. And that sounds like an invasion of privacy. Like big time.
It kind of does.
Yeah.
It does sound like something that Disney would do.
Oh, yeah.
So that definitely fits. And now that we're talking about it, it's not a big plot point, but another digital Sora at some point down the line very like casually just gets created in another game as well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's not like the current day version of this digital Sora, because this digital Sora, as far as we know, has just been deleted after this game. But in the DLC for Kingdom Hearts 3, there's also a digital Sora, because we'll get to that. Why?
Yeah.
That'll be a while though, because first we need to talk about the prequels, which is one of my favorite games in the series.
Now we're getting into the thing that was the trailer like 2 games ago.
Yeah, that's now we're getting into that, and this is roughly where I feel like what I would, if Kingdom Hearts didn't like come out and number their phases themselves, I would say that we've now finished phase 1 and we're moving into phase 2. And after Kingdom Hearts 3 would be phase 3. Unfortunately, the people at Square Enix don't like that counting system because that would also involve admitting that they didn't know what the fuck they were doing for the first 5 games. So we're now getting into like Kingdom Hearts proper. Finally.
Now, we're now past the phase of we're just having fun and kind of trying to make a cohesive story into now we have to fix all the bullshit we just did and actually make it a cohesive story.
And that is something that you'll definitely be feeling over the next few games, is that it's retconning quite a few things that we've established at this point in the series, while also introducing some new stuff, which I'm not a huge fan of, so that they can have a somewhat decent ending for Kingdom Hearts 3, and then going on beyond Kingdom Hearts 3, they can have a more or less clean slate to keep telling a more cohesive story within the existing universe as we have it now. Rather than what we've been doing so far, which is definitely making it up as we go.
Yeah.
And that does not work.
All right, then.
So that's been that. Next time, we're going to go through A Birth by Sleep, which is going to be a slightly longer one. I'm going to try to keep that one somewhat compact as well. But the issue there is that the game has... We've seen the 3 characters, right? We saw those. You play through the game as every single one of them with their own story. And that makes it a pretty long game, relatively speaking. So I'm going to try to keep it as compact as possible.
Alrighty then.
But we might end up cutting that 1 and 2 as well.
Yeah, and if that is the case, let's also do that for the recording, because last time we didn't do that for the recording and I almost lost my mind.
Yeah, if it ends up being a very long script, I already know where we'll likely be able to cut it into. But maybe it doesn't end up being that long. I mean, this one was relatively short. We've been talking a lot before we got started, and now quite a bit after we finished. And we're still under 2 hours. So,
yeah.
There's like an hour and a half of actual game explaining. I think the next one probably should fit within roughly twice that length. So it's kind of similar to last time where we're like, we could split this up, or we could have a very long episode, one or the other. We'll see. Maybe while I'm writing the next one, I figure out, you know what, there's actually so much more to mention here. We need to split this up, in which case it'll be a 2-parter.
We'll see.
We'll definitely see. I can promise you now that Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to be a 2-parter, and the mobile game is going to be a 2 or a 3-part.
Oh, goddamn.
Because that one is long. It's very long. For now, we'll see you all back next time.
Bye.